All right. Thanks for jumping on, guys. We are on another episode of the Helix Experience podcast. Today, we have our head coach from the gym, Paige Gavranich, joining us. Thanks, Paige.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Excited to have you on. We've been chatting all things nervous and questions before the podcast, so I know Paige is going to absolutely kill this. But Paige, if we met at a dinner party and I didn't know you, which sounds weird, how would you introduce yourself?
I actually had a giggle. I was reading through the questions briefly before I came, and the funny thing is I probably wouldn't introduce myself.
Yeah, no one
does.
Bit
of an introvert, you
know.
So naturally, that wouldn't be my first point of call. But no, in all seriousness, probably how I'd introduce myself and describe myself. So I'm Paige. I'm the head coach at Helix Gym. I love all things outdoors, so going on hikes with my dogs and my partner, Aiden, going to the beach, horse riding, and I have a passion for women's health, and I'm also studying to be a naturopath at the moment.
Awesome. Paige has been, how many years were you a member at the gym before you became coach?
I think I signed up early 2019. So I moved back from Dunsborough. I was living in Dunsborough prior, and pretty much was back in December 2018. And then a mutual friend, Ryan Slade, actually pointed Aiden and I your way.
Nice. I remember your name came up on my website on email like it does. And I remember it came across my email and then I Facebook stalked you and then I called you 30 seconds later. And I literally can remember that phone call like it was yesterday. So, Paige, you were a little bit of a bodybuilder before you joined and became a strength rat over at Helix. So, what did that look like for you as an athlete? How was the journey going from kind of bodybuilding to strength training?
Yeah, the journey from bodybuilding, it was kind of a weird start for me. I didn't really have an interest in it, in all honesty. When I started training, I'd met Aiden and he was kind of showing me the ropes at the gym, just at a 24-hour gym. And there was actually, I remember very clearly, there was an old guy. He was absolutely jacked. He was probably about 60 and he looked incredible. Him and I, he was really friendly. We'd quite often have chats together. And he mentioned that I had the right body type for a sports model in the ICN, which is I Compete Natural in bodybuilding. So I kind of felt good after he said that, basically, and he put me in front of a coach and I just kind of started the journey from there. I don't necessarily think I wanted to do it at the start. It was just more of a let's see where I can push myself mentally more to the point and physically and see where I would go. So got popped on a training plan and a meal plan. At the start, it was really exciting. It was great to see my body change. I was eating more than I thought I would be able to, which was really nice. The prep time was 9 months, so it was a long time. Very strict with everything. And you know me, I'm obsessive. So it's an all or nothing approach. So I gave it my 110%. Probably I enjoyed the whole journey until right at the end, probably 8 weeks. I was on 1,600 calories a day, training twice a day, living off caffeine.
That's what most people eat normally. So
yeah, it's insane. I've definitely evolved from there. Obviously after bodybuilding, coming out of it, it was great on stage, but I think I wanted a little bit more of a lifestyle type of training, which is where I found Helix, and I've just come from strength to strength. I was so weak when I thought I was strong.
No, it's hilarious. It's every bodybuilder, bodybuilder per se, they look great and then they're usually not that strong.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is quite wild.
Yeah.
Everyone comes to our gym and they're like, fuck, everyone is so strong here, but they don't look that good comparatively. So it's, I guess we're trying to find the happy medium between the two at the moment at the gym from the coach's point of view. So absolutely. What did you love about bodybuilding?
The way I looked, probably. The way I felt mentally when I got on stage, I felt really well achieved, I'd made it the whole way. To be honest, that's probably about it. At the time, if you asked me at the time, I would have said I was obsessed with it and I was going to do it again and again. I think coming out of that journey was a mental battle for me. And then finding Helix, my mindset has shifted from wanting to look good to wanting to perform well. And I think that's the benefit of Helix and the program there. Feeling strong is way better than looking good on stage.
I think it's a byproduct as well. It's you get strong and if you don't fuck your diet up, you generally look pretty good as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Without having to go to the extremes of counting every grain of rice that you're eating.
Yeah.
So when I was at Surge, was my first ever job in fitness when I was 18. There was 13 personal trainers and me, and I was the only one that wasn't bodybuilding. So I got kind of dragged into the methodology and the lifestyle of bodybuilding, which I kind of loved for a little bit, but I think it gets a little bit boring. That's kind of my only take away from bodybuilding is like doing a chest day, a back day, a leg day, a shoulder day, arms and abs is a little bit boring. But I do think that is awesome for the ability to repeat it every week. I think that style does work for a lot of people. What did you think of the training in bodybuilding?
Yeah, I did enjoy the training. Like you say, I think it's very beneficial having that sort of structure, and you do get good results from that, don't get me wrong. I think what I didn't like necessarily about it, which I didn't know until after the fact, until I joined like a small group setting, just training by yourself with your headphones in, and it's not really like, I feel like now going to the gym is a bit more of an event. There's a community vibe. You push yourself harder, whereas you're only working against yourself, I suppose, when you're doing bodybuilding. So even the setting where you train for bodybuilding, like as we know, 24-hour gyms, the vibe is very different. Okay. So you have to really tap into that next level mindset and really push yourself, because you don't have anyone else there really to support you. In terms of the structure of the training, definitely like it. And I think that's why I like our Flex program at the moment, because it does get good results. But in terms of the environment, I don't think it's totally supportive mentally either. No
way. Yeah, I love group training as well, but you're like sensible with it, with your training. I'm completely unsensible with it. So Paige obviously coaches me quite a bit in class. I just go way too hard. Like I have white line fever, and like I see reps and I'm like, let's do more. Let's hit the percentage. Let's go harder. And I smash everyone for not following the program, and I am the biggest not follow the program guy that there is. Paige probably sees it and she's like, this guy's funny.
Yeah, he'll do like 5 sessions, then he'll cook himself for 3 days.
Absolutely.
And then he repeats.
I cooked my neck this week, which was hilarious. So I came off my motorbike. I was telling Paige before, and like basically landed on my hands, jarred my neck, and then I went in and trained twice, upper body sessions in 2 days. And I'm wondering why my neck is like so stiff that I can't move it. Obviously, it's that. The physio thought I was absolutely ridiculous, which I kind of am, but that's fine. So, like training and bodybuilding and self-work, it's kind of like a self-philosophy degree in a way. You kind of learn a lot about yourself. So, like, what are some things you learned about yourself throughout this journey of fitness or bodybuilding that, the listener or someone listening can take away?
I think the biggest takeaway from the whole bodybuilding process, especially because it was 9 months, is that if you put your mind to something and commit, you can do anything really. You're capable of anything. It's just really giving that 110% commitment and having your blinkers on really, and just thinking, this is what I want, this is what I have to do to get it. And you follow the steps and you will get it. It really is pretty simple as long as you have it all laid out in front of you. Yeah. That would definitely be my biggest takeaway from bodybuilding. And it has shaped who I am today as well, because now when I do go for something that I want, I just get into that same mindset and go for it. That would definitely be my biggest takeaway. My second one is probably that just because someone looks a certain way also doesn't mean they're healthy either. Coming out of bodybuilding, I had a lot of health issues. So, looking a certain way doesn't mean that your health is a certain way either. So it is also just a facade for a lot of people.
Yeah, I feel like there has to be a happy medium between the two. Obviously, with being a like 200 kilo fatty and then being a 4% bodybuilder, there's got to be some happy medium between the two in terms of like overall health and cellular health. The next question I have here is like, tell us about your training. And it's funny because you're like probably the only person I know that actually goes off their feelings in an intuitive way of how their body is feeling, and it does guide like how you train. I ask you, I'm like, what are you doing for training this week? And sometimes you say things like, I'm a little bit cooked or my body's not feeling it, so I did X amount of sessions, which is great, and also like quite inspiring that you're that in tune with your body. So like, what does your training look like on a general week, and like how do you make adjustments for it with how you're feeling, quote?
Cool. Thank you for that. I am very intuitive. Well, I like to think so anyway. My training at the moment, I'm currently doing 5 to 6 sessions, which in all honesty is probably not where my body likes to be. It's only because obviously I'm actually prepping for a CrossFit comp at the moment, and Tim's pushing us very hard.
Yeah. The dark side.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I will do 3 to 4 sessions a week. That is dependent on what's happening in my life. So I try and look at my training as a whole. Like for me, a lot of factors influence my training. So my sleep, my food, what's going on in my life, all that sort of thing. So that's kind of how I judge my training, is what's happening at the time. I always like to definitely like bare minimum get in 3 sessions every week. I think that is being consistent. Also not undercommitting or overcommitting. So saying, this is the minimum I can achieve this week with what I have going on, making the time for it. And then, if I'm feeling good, I'll slot in an extra session. So minimum of 3 sessions a week, maximum of 5 sessions a week. I always like to have my 2 days off. So for me, it's just really how much sleep I've got. I used to have a Whoop, so I used to take that recovery as gospel, but I felt like it was lying to me most of the time. So I just try and judge based on, how I'm feeling based on those factors. So sleep, food, what's happening, all that sort of thing. It's not really too much to it, really.
Yeah, it is. It is. You don't give yourself enough credit on that. So Paige has probably, if you haven't seen Paige before, she's probably got one of the most impressive physiques I've ever seen in person. And if you probably stalk her on Instagram, you'll see that. Or if you know her in person, you also know that. But people always ask me, they're like, how did Paige get so jacked? And I want to take credit for it, but it's definitely not all me. But I want to hear from Paige herself, how'd you get so jacked?
Well, I know you don't want to take credit, but Helix, basically, that's...
You were jacked before.
I've definitely got more jacked since being at Helix, definitely. I used to be 54 kilos and now I'm 59 and I still have pretty low body fat. So it's a lot of muscle mass that I've developed over the years. Honestly, how I've got here is consistency. So being consistent over many years. So not having periods of training really hard and then having 6 months off or 3 months off. Looking after my body as well as a big one so that I'm not out with injury. Focusing on recovery and eating well, sleeping well. They're the big ones for me. It's like a lifestyle approach to training. The other one I would definitely say is sticking to one coach and one program. Sometimes program hopping is not the way to go either. I think, as I've seen, if you stick to a program, you have a good coach, you have a good program with everything in there implemented, like progressive overload, deloads, all those sorts of things, different stimulus for you to be able to grow, then I think that's the most important thing as well, is just having that solid program that, continually pushes you to develop, and also pushing yourself as well, I think is the big one, not bitching out on the days where you feel like, I don't really want to do this, but just, pushing that little bit extra and getting it done. So consistency over everything. Yeah,
I 100% agree. It's hilarious. As a coach now, you would see this as well. But when people fall off the bandwagon, it's frustrating as shit because, as a coach, we pride ourselves on the results we get for people. And when someone falls off the bandwagon or they go down a different route, which is cool, whatever, but they're just really undercutting their gains and their results, which they could have got with this methodology. Sure, you're one of the rare people that has kind of stuck it through the whole way. And, obviously the results you've got are a testament to your commitment and your consistency. But I think as a coach, you can probably start to see that now as you look at clients or athletes and you're like, you could have everything you ever dreamt of if you were more consistent and you did this for longer, and they just can't crack it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's I often wonder if they're like that in their life as well.
For sure.
People that are successful, they, chip away little bit by little bit over a long period of time. Success doesn't happen overnight. And I think some of our clients, they forget that. They look at me or you and they think, oh my God, how did you get there? And it's you forget that we've been doing this for a long time now, and it's just, we keep chipping away at it. We're consistent. We show up every week, all that sort of thing. So yeah, it is interesting to see people and their mindset. I think people's mindset is what lets them down, really.
For sure.
And,
shiny object syndrome as well.
Yeah, 100%. And at Helix, we give you all the tools you need.
Yeah.
You just have to implement them. And that's the big thing, is that, some people, they can't achieve their goals because they don't have the tools, but we give them the tools. So there's really no excuse.
It's super simple. I went to a physio yesterday, Andy, and he was telling me he was really stoked with his weight gain. And it's a hilarious story. And I was like, oh, what are you weighing? He said 74 kilos. And in my head, I was like, fuck, that's so light. And, he was really stoked with his muscle mass. And I have this body dysmorphia in my head where I look in the mirror and I see a really small person.
Yeah.
And I'm 98 kilos at the moment. And I just thought about that. I was like, fuck, I'm not 25 kilos to 24 kilos heavier than this dude. And he's not small. And in my head, I was like, fuck, maybe you need to get this sorted out. Because you probably don't look at yourself and be like, I'm one of the most impressive female physiques that there is.
No, because
around us.
Yeah, you're comparing yourself with yourself.
Yeah.
And we're not average people.
Nah.
There's a lot of average population out there that, 100% they think we're amazing, but we don't have anything to compare to. We compare against ourselves.
100%. It's super weird.
Yeah.
So, you did lean into this a little bit in the last question, but, what have been your biggest learnings about training in the last 5 years outside of being more consistent?
This is a good one. outside of being consistent, pushing myself.
Yeah.
Like really pushing myself, like on the days that I don't want to. Sticking to my percentages is a good one too.
Yeah.
Like the program is all written out for me. So listening to the reps, listening to the percentages, like hitting it as consistently as I can. I know that's still linked into consistency, but yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
Cool.
Nothing comes easy either. Like you just get fitter and stronger. So, you know, like you might feel better one week, but it's just because you're getting fitter and stronger and you have to push more.
It gets harder the longer you're in it as well. Everyone says that. They're like, oh, it must be easy for you now. Oh, you wrote the program, man. Like, this must be easy for you. I'm like, no, it gets harder the longer you're in it because everything takes longer. And you would know that as well. It's like your warm-ups take longer. Getting to your weights get longer. The sets get harder because the relative load's even harder. Yeah. It's like the longer you're in it, the harder it is. And the harder it is to make gains. So when you first start training, you'll know this as well. It's like when you can squat and then you'll start bench pressing more just because you've got that training effect of being an absolute newbie in the gym. Everything gets better. But, once you hit the, iron game and the barbell life for 3, 4, 5 years, everything gets harder and harder and harder.
It was funny. I was having a chat to one of our members yesterday. He's come a long way in a short period of time, actually. He's getting very strong. Bless him. At the moment, we have like 4 sets of 10 deadlifts with a tempo and at 67%, which for people like Tim says that are strong, that's heavy.
That's hard.
So, he was saying, oh my God, this is so difficult. And I was like, this is what you get when you're strong. Like it's great to be strong, but then you have to maintain that strength and get stronger. So, there does become a certain point where people think, yeah, it's easy, but it actually is more difficult to maintain that sort of strength.
Yeah, if you guys think about it, it's like an invisible glass ceiling on your potential. As the closer you get to the ceiling, the harder it is to go closer to the ceiling. And it's just like this, it's kind of like this never-ending place that you find, but it just gets harder and harder to reach the top. If I go into like a testing week now and I PB 1 lift or 2 lifts at anything like a kilo, I'm stoked. Yeah. But other members of ours, they get fucking pissed and like chuck a sook and throw their belt around and kick their drink bottles if they like miss a lift. And I'm laughing in my head. I'm thinking that's cute because you wait till you've been doing this for 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah. Your results are like, it gets so much harder to make gains.
It's the little wins for sure. Like anything, like you say, half a kilo and it's celebrating like.
Yeah. We have like 8 lifts that we test. And like, honestly, if one of them went up, I'd be fucking wrapped.
Yeah.
Absolutely stoked about it. So, Paige, you did mention you were studying naturopathy at the moment. So I know your nutrition is really dialed in. So a lot of people would probably ask you this question, but like, what does your nutrition look like maintaining such a low body fat percentage? Obviously it's dialed in, but yeah, just give us a rundown of like breakfast, lunch, dinner, supplements, that type of stuff.
Yeah, so people probably don't realise, but I actually don't track my food, which is something that I obviously do preach to people, and there is a reason for that. So for me, if I need to track my food to hit a particular goal, then 100% I will track my food. My nutrition, though, from my background of bodybuilding, I've got a pretty good eye for what I should eat. The big one for me is getting the protein in, and I think a lot of our members or people that come and see us, the main thing that they're missing is like protein. Especially females, they'll be lucky to get like 50 grams of protein in per day. So that's a huge one for me. That also helps a lot with my recovery and my muscle soreness is getting in that protein. So I aim for 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. So roughly every day I get in between 115 to 120, maybe even 125 grams of protein every day. And that's just an eye-up approach. So for breakfast every morning, even when I coach, so if I get up and coach, I have to eat. So I'm eating in the kitchen, like doing a big cook-up at 4 a.m.
Before coaching.
Yeah, 4 a.m. I'll have like sourdough.
Dude, I am walking out the door like a zombie. I am like, get me to McDonald's to get a fucking coffee.
Look, if I cannot eat before I coach, I'm very hangry. And I just
you don't want that. No one wants to see you hangry.
So in the mornings, food for me will look like 2 pieces of toast, so like a sourdough with like 3 eggs, some avocado or some kale, definitely getting a coffee in as well. If I'm coaching in the morning, I'll take like a protein shake with me because I generally will train in between my classes. The really important thing that I always do, and I know you do as well, is getting that protein in within 30 minutes of exercising. So giving the body the fuel straight away. I also generally take a banana with me as well, just for that quick carbohydrate hit as well. So I generally will eat 5 meals a day. So I'll have breakfast, mid-morning snack, lunch, afternoon tea, dinner, and then obviously I'll have a protein shake always after training, whether I'm training in the morning or the afternoon, I'll just take it with me. So yeah, 20 to 30 grams of protein per every single meal that I'm having. So my shakes, 30 grams, lunch, obviously, carbohydrates, meats, vegetables. My meals are pretty simple. My nutrition is all pretty much homemade, so I know what goes into everything, and I think that's the key. Personally for me, my body works better and fuels better on fats, so my fat intake is higher than my carbs, and that's just what works for me. So yeah, day to day I don't track. I'd say from an IUP perspective, I probably would eat about 2,300 calories consistently. And I find, obviously, for performance, that's where my maintenance phase, where I like to sit out energy-wise as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. But you didn't get to the IUP level without getting to a consciousness by tracking level.
Correct.
Which a lot of people want to skip, and then they want to hide behind their like, I don't track because of mental health, and it's going to make me obsessed with tracking, and then I'm going to get an eating disorder, yada, yada, yada. But you have to go through the whole, like, knowing how much calorie is in each food to get to that level of consciousness, which you can do now, which I agree with.
100%. Yeah, definitely. And, I have that knowledge, whereas people coming into our gym sometimes, they have no idea about nutrition. Most of them are undereating or overeating or not eating the right things. So having that awareness, of what you're eating and how much you're eating is a really good, setup for life anyway, moving forward, so that you can get to that point where you're gauging. And if I ever have a goal where I need to lose weight or gain weight, absolutely, the first thing I'll do is track, just because it is so easy, and that's how you get good results in a short amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah. This morning, Steph and I have been talking about this for a week or so. Like, I think nutrition is the most simple thing of all time.
Yeah.
And my wife, fiance, is more of a normal person than Paige and I. So she's like, nah, it's not that easy. And I'm like, look, you just eat a protein source, carb source, and a fat source at every meal. Have protein after you work out, drink water, do all that. And she was like, but how do you know what to eat? And I'm like, oh, man, I don't know how to make this any more clear for you. And she goes, no, people need to know exactly what is in each meal, how much they should have in the simplest version possible.
Yeah.
So she went to the gym this morning. I went to a cafe and I wrote meal plans. I wrote 6 meal plans at 1,450 calories, 1,800, 2,250, 2,600, and then 3,000 calories, and then 3,500, just so that if someone wanted an actual example of what they should be eating, that we could give it to them and say, this is exactly to the gram of what you should eat for this calorie limit on all meals, post-workout, pre-workout, that kind of thing, because people kind of need that, especially when they're starting out. And I did send it to our group chat, but if you work for me, it's group chat at any time of the day, 24/7, 7 days a week, very random times, which is quite funny. Honestly, I don't expect girls to reply ever, but they're probably like, why is this guy fucking working at 9 p.m. on a Sunday night?
It's actually quite funny. I enjoy it. I always have a giggle. Tim always has something funny to say. He's very dry, but he has a really, really great sense of humour. So it's
I tone it down in our group chats as well. I'm like, I can't say that. I'm going to get sued or something. So being the head coach of Helix Gym, you see a lot of successes and failures in people. Obviously, we have hundreds of people coming through the doors. So we get to gauge kind of what's working and what's not from people. So in your opinion, why can't people lose weight or attain their goals when they join a gym like ours?
Yep. So again, they have all the tools. They just don't apply it, unfortunately. You see the people that are really great and they are doing everything that you've told them to, basically. They're doing all the things. And that's the thing with health and fitness as well, is you can't just half-ass it. It's a lifestyle approach as well. So, sleep, diet, food, all that sort of thing, like training, it all adds up. So I think the members that are lacking, either they fall off the bandwagon, like you say, they're not consistent, or they're not doing all the things. And that's really as simple as it is. They're just not committing wholeheartedly to their training, to their food, sleep, basically their lifestyle. And I think that's the big one.
Yeah, I did a post on Instagram. I actually recorded a podcast on this, but, people they spend their life trying to chase wealth, and then when they have their wealth, they try to get their health back. And I did make a point of it in the post to say, you can have both. It's an hour a day, and then prepping your meals is not the fucking hardest thing to do in the world. And I actually had one of our members who fits this bill comment on it as a little bit butthurt about it, Dane. And I just thought, it's classic, case in point. He works all the time and doesn't make time for his training. Sorry, Dane, if you're listening to this. And I would just love, he's an absolute beast as well, and could be even beastier if he just committed to it.
100%. And the thing is making excuses about it is pointless, because everyone has the same amount of hours in a day. and yes, people have to work 9 to 5 or, 7 to 5 or whatever it is. Everyone's got to work and that's fine. But make a plan. If you can say to me that you don't have an hour in your day where you're wasting time, like call yourself on it. Next time you're on Instagram for like 45 minutes, you could have got in a quick 45-minute session. Do you know what I mean? So 100%. There's points in everyone's day where 100% they're wasting time. I catch myself doing it sometimes. I'm like, this could be so much more productive if I did this. So I think as well, it's having the awareness. Some people are so out of the loop with themselves that they don't even realize that they're wasting time during their day,
No way.
So that's
especially at work. People waste so much time at work.
100%.
You've worked 9 to 5. I'm sure you know that, but I've never worked 9 to 5. I couldn't imagine what that's like, sitting in front of a desk for like that much time.
Yeah,
do you waste time?
100%.
Yeah,
you have like 10 coffee breaks a day, you know, and it's crazy. I used to say like I could get my work done in 4 hours, but I have to space it out over 8-9 hours, and it just seems pointless, you know.
Shit way to live.
So very grateful that I don't have to do that anymore, and we'll never go back. So I've had a taste of what the good life's like.
The good life is great, especially in summer. Summer in Perth, honestly, that's why no one goes on holidays in summer in Perth, because it is the best place in the world to be.
100%.
I met someone the other day and they were from Canada, and I think I met them at a coffee store, and they were like, yeah, Perth is honestly, like, they moved to Canada. They were like, Perth is the best place in the world to live, like hands down, like full stop. If the weather wasn't as shit in winter, I would complain less, but winter here is like Antarctica. Also.
Yeah, Tim and I hate the cold, to be honest. Like, people probably from elsewhere around the world would be like, you guys are being little bitches, but Tim and I literally hate the cold.
We can't do it. Paige in winter is a different person than Paige in summer. The mood is completely different.
Yeah.
So, Paige, final question here. What sets the best and worst clients apart that you've coached? Like, what are some traits? What are some personality hacks? What are some things about them? Because, like, everyone, you know, if you're listening to this, you want to be successful. So, like, what are they?
So personality traits, just commit, like, you know, be consistent, create a regime, really. I think having habits as well and building habits is a big one. No one is motivated 100% all the time. But, you know, if you create the habits where no matter if you're motivated or not, you still go, and you have to go to work every day. So treat training and your approach to your goals like that as well. Like, if you have to do something, just keep doing it. It'll keep you going on the days that you aren't motivated. And that shows with a lot of our members that just keep showing up. You know, they only have a lack of motivation for a little period, and then they pick it back up again. So I think just committing and having a regime for everything in your life. Like, I know that sounds crazy to have, you know, some people want to take the more relaxed approach, but I think having that accountability will help you stay on track. Yeah. Big time.
100%. So, you know, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who's the best male and female client you've ever coached?
Sharad is 100% the best male. He is
What sets him apart?
What's crazy about Sharad? So Sharad,
if he listens to this, he's gonna have a boner.
Yeah, I'm blowing up his head here. Sorry, Sharad. Sharad's incredible. So Sharad trains every day, I swear, and sometimes twice a day, double sessions. And the crazy thing about Sharad is that he keeps performing, and he does do a lot of work. So he's obviously nailing his recovery, nailing his sleep. You know, he has a very important job. So, you know, he is the person that if anyone should be making excuses, it's Sharad, but he just doesn't. He just shows up. He's always happy. You know, he always puts in 110% every single session. And like I said, for double sessions, I've seen other members try and do the same amount of work as Sharad, but
I can't do it.
It doesn't pay off. But I think sometimes, you know, some people are built like that as well, but he obviously nails every other aspect of his life and able to be able to turn up and perform. Yeah,
it's like frustrating watching from the side, because I'm like, I want to be able to do that. I just can't do it.
I know.
I can't
neither. that would not be me.
And then like in the last year, any females that come to mind?
Sinead, for sure.
Yeah, she's probably the same.
Yeah, Sinead and Sharad seem to be very similar in the way they push themselves. So Sinead also does, when I coach in the mornings, our first class is at 5:30. Sinead is there at 5:30 and she does not stop training till about 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And then she goes home and has a big feed. But Sinead's work ethic is second to none. And I think that's what sets her apart from the rest as well. Doesn't make excuses, shows up. Pretty much the same as Sharad. They're definitely the two outstanding, and the results speak for themselves. They've definitely come the furthest in the short time they've been with us.
Yeah, so Sharad's a dealer principal, and he manages like 200 people. And he's got a kid, a newborn, and a wife, and all that shit. So, like, honestly, if someone has an excuse to slack off, it's him.
Yeah.
And then Sinead's a paramedic, and if you're a paramedic in a Western country at the moment, you're getting absolutely slammed because there's no one around to help. So she's doing crazy long hours, and it's
night shift as well.
night shift, and still putting in that type of effort. So, like, there's literally no excuse to that. So, Paige, how do people find you? How do they find more about you? Because that was a great podcast.
Thank you. They can find me at Helix most of the time. Yeah. Come and duck your head in. I'd love you guys to come have a free session with me and see what it's all about for sure. Otherwise, you can find me on Instagram, Paige Gavranich. That is all.
Yes, and they can find you with your dogs or trying to get Aiden in the gym.
My partner is not the best example, I will admit. Yeah. Getting Aiden to the gym, his priority seems to be work, which is okay, but obviously him and I butt heads a tiny bit when it comes to that sort of thing.
We joke about Paige and I both have the same partner.
Just
the personality traits like completely opposite, which is hilarious. Like Aiden and Steph have similar stuff, and then you and I have similar stuff, which is fucking wild. But
that's why they need us, though.
Yeah, it's hilarious to kind of whip them into line. My wife's finally got her shit together this week. She's trained 6 times, which was absolutely wild for her.
Yeah, she showed up without you this morning.
Yeah, no, first time in her life, she's like, my back doesn't hurt. And I'm like, I've been telling you for 6 years. It's not the fucking training that's hurting your back. It's because you're weak. Little bitch.
Yeah, we're mean. We're really mean.
So thanks for listening, guys. If you love this episode, don't forget to tag us. Tag at Paige Gavranich and at tim.frey, 2 Y's on the end. Or leave us a 5-star review. This was fun. Thanks, guys.